Yo, what's up? For those of you who just started the game but already want to have access to the strongest soldiers possible, this guide is going to show you how to perk up your beginner entry level tier 1 soldiers and make them as strong as possible with the best perk combinations in the game. For those who haven't done so yet, I recommend watching the 15-minute introduction video into perks, which shows you everything to know about perks in general and also how to get perfectly rolled soldiers. Because since entry-level soldiers, so Rifleman 1, Engineer 1 and so on, have the lowest amount of perk points available overall, it's absolutely important to have perfectly rolled ones, because with the new rule that requires you to have 6 beginner points in the first tier of perks, it can become extremely hard to get the actually good perks for many classes. So yeah, make sure you roll the soldiers perfectly, and then you can use the following combinations. And we start with the most basic of all classes, the Rifleman 1. Now they get a +1 bonus in every color, giving them 17 perk points in every color, since the baseline for soldiers is 16 points in every color. Riflemen are the only class in the game who aren't real specialists, since all the other classes have some specialization and come with some special abilities or some special weaponry. But these classes, well, these Riflemen, they can't do much. Would some people say, but they have one special ability, and it's they're the only class who can use grenade launchers. There's one little exception. Anti-tank gunners can use anti-tank grenade launchers if you want, but basic riflemen are the only ones who can use all type of grenade launchers. And here's the thing, this is also the only reason to actually use them. Except for some very small exceptions like FG42s on your riflemen and the max tier for Germans. There's literally no other reason to play riflemen than giving them grenade launchers, and you can do it on all tiers because, as you can see, Germans battle rating 2 can use a normal grenade launcher. Yes, if you play higher tiers, you can give them anti-tank grenade launchers, which are basically the same but with the upside of being less bugged when it comes to damage, and also being able to penetrate tanks a little bit, since their grenades have some penetration, but they work the same way against infantry too. Of course, everyone can build his rifleman as he wants, but you're here to see the strongest builds possible, so that's how you do it. Dual wield your grenade launchers, because this gives you access to 6 grenades instead of 3. Now this is extremely important. I won't go into the details, but the reloads take time, and you will be overall faster, relatively speaking, if you have more grenades than if you have less grenades. So this is one reason. The other reason is, when you have 2 grenade launchers, you can put on 1 grenade on the first one, and then the second one is just a normal bolt action rifle, and you can run around, and whenever you see a group of enemies, you just grenade launch them with your grenade. And whenever you see only one enemy, or the enemy is too close to you, you just quickly switch to the other grenade launcher and bolt action him away with the other rifle. So this is the basic combination. This is very strong. This is actually very, very strong. And another advantage is you can use riflemen either as fillers for your other squads, like 1 random rifleman in the anti-tank gunner squad or 2 riflemen in the flamethrower squad. Or you can play a dedicated rifleman squad with the humongous amount of 9 soldiers, which makes it the strongest, the biggest possible squad in the game, and comes with some specific advantages like being very fast at capping objectives or being very good at defending objectives, since you have a mass of soldiers that are going to survive for longer. So yeah, this is the emergency squad if you need to cap very fast or defend in very problematic situations. Besides the 2 grenade launchers, you absolutely need a medkit, obviously, and some form of grenade. The best combination is an explosive pack and an anti-personnel mine, since many other classes will want to have anti-tank mines, but you also want to have as many anti-personnel mines on your soldiers. And since the riflemen already have grenades that are very strong against normal groups of soldiers, you don't need a normal explosive grenade. And an explosion pack is going to be better in that case, since it deals less damage to soldiers, but can easily take out all the tanks in the game. So yeah, this is like the best grenade type for this soldier class. And since you already have a way to deal with tanks, you can just give them a random anti-personnel mine. And optionally give him an X, so he's very fast while charging. Also, since grenade launchers can't have bayonets, this is the only way for them to be able to charge, and a random pistol if you want. And random flask, since flask X combo usually very good. Regarding perks, it's getting quite hard, because if you want to get, let's say, all 3 max perks, you will have to spend 16 3 times, and then you're left with only 1 point per color, meaning you can't invest your first 6 points in the first tier of perks. So this doesn't work. So you actually have to be very strategic when it comes to finding enough points to allocate in the first tier. And this is my recommendation for the strongest possible build. You absolutely want Vitality as usual. So you have 1 random red left. This regeneration perk is only good when you have it on max or 4 tiers. Putting 1 tier in doesn't really make much sense, since they won't regenerate to a high level. Meaning, if they have a little bit of life left, let's say if they have 40% of life left, you won't even get any regeneration. So this is already bad. The best thing you can do is give them the additional stamina regeneration, since this means while you're running around with your first soldier, your squad is going to follow you, and then they're going to get, tired. And well, instead of waiting for a long time until they replenish their stamina, you will have to wait only half the time. Since Riflemen most likely are gonna be bots, because if you have a specialist squad, you're gonna use the specialist first. And if you have a Rifleman squad, well, you're also gonna use the specialist first most likely. Your Riflemen usually will be running around as bots. So we want to make them as strong as possible while the AI controls them. And here's how you do it. First of all, you want to make them as precise as possible. And they already have the beginner perk of being more precise as bots. This number means they're basically nothing but when you turn around quickly, you're precise while you shoot yourself, but also when your bots, who most of the time need to turn around in order to shoot at something, are going to be more precise. And we want to increase this by give them the dedicated normal perk for that. And we want to have faster weapon change, since you have 2 weapons and you're going to have to switch around constantly. And this already solves our dilemma of filling up 6 perks for the beginner tier, because now we already have 3 here. Together with this we have 4, and then we can put in 2 in green for fast extinguishing, which is one of the best perks overall now, because it only costs 1, and it's absolutely worth it, because halving the time, or cutting the time in half of extinguishing your soldier literally means the difference between surviving or not surviving. And changing pose is also very nice, since you can quickly get down on the floor and avoid bombs or grenades and other explosions, or just mount your weapon and start aiming more precisely. So yeah, these are absolutely worth it, and they also give us the first 6 points, unlocking the Vitality perk. And for the rest, we want to have faster aim, because your bots are absolutely gonna be profiting from faster aim. And then we don't have that much green left, and the best thing you can do is put 1 into faster walking. Yes, running is the normal walking. And then 1 into faster climbing, since yes, bots, especially in badly designed maps or badly placed rally points, are gonna have to climb. And this is literally the best 2 points you can spend when you only have 2 points left. It's not really worth it to make them jump higher, but climbing faster, that's actually worth it. And for the last yellow points, you want them to be able to reload quicker, because this faster reload applies to all weapons in the game, also grenade launcher grenades, which is great. And the remaining perks we can spend for making them tankier, meaning they're gonna survive more situations where they usually would die. Giving them reload isn't really that useful, especially if you play. Giving them less recoil isn't that useful, especially when you use bolt actions. And well, it's precisely said absolutely not useful, because bolt actions have 0 recoil if you just take the time to reload. They automatically replenish their recoil. So yeah, every single bullet you're gonna fire will have 0 recoil if you do it in a normal rhythm. So this perk doesn't do anything. And faster shooting with bolt actions, well, also not that useful, since you want this to have on maximum to have a real advantage. And since you're gonna launch grenades most of the time, this won't even do that much. So yeah, like the best thing you can do is faster reload. Faster reload is also, well, similar to faster shooting, and the additional tankiness. Engineer 1s are overall very similar to Engineer 2s, since all you want to do with their equipment and perks is to make them as good as possible at their main engineering task. But Since you're on lower battle rating, they're weaker when it comes to weapons. They will only have a bolt action very likely. So you want to absolutely make sure that they have large grenade pouches to give them more firepower. And also the X flask combo and some pistols, since only having one bolt action rifle can be a little bit lacking. And of course a medkit and a binocular, not necessary but also quite useful. And an anti-tank mine, since engineers are usually running around and crawling around, and they are one of the first classes to reach positions where other soldiers won't be, and this gives you the perfect opportunity to drop some good mines. Regarding perks, we have something very fancy. Since we already start with 21% additional crawling speed, we can put 3 points into 60% more crawling speed, and now we have a soldier that almost as fast crawling as a normal soldier is walking. So with this build, make sure that you actually crawl on the ground because it's more useful. Yes, remember that, and you're gonna have some big advantage in the game. It's the biggest mistake you can do is actually walk normally with this type of soldier. You literally want to crawl around. Also, we don't have that many points overall, so we're very lucky to already find some good 3 points to invest in the first tier, and then 1 for changing pose, since you don't want fast crawling without changing pose, especially not as an engineer who constantly gets on the ground to have a safer position to build stuff in. And the remaining 2 points we fill up by fast weapon changing speed, which is perfect with the hammer, and some filler point. And then we can have enough points for faster building, for vitality. We have 2 red left, and we can put them in stamina, since this makes sure that we can run around longer. We don't need the additional faster regeneration, since when we're crawling around anyway, once we run out of stamina, we're gonna replenish it. And then additional survivability, actually max survivability, and then the remaining points into faster shooting with bolt actions. Overall, this is one of the most elegant classes in the game, especially since beginner classes usually have problems or gaps in terms of power, but this class is very well balanced. And if you don't want to invest too much silver, you can easily play these beginner engineers over engineer 2s. Next we have the beginner player's favorite Sniper 1 class. These come with a bonus of +5 perk points, but also with a penalty in vitality, making them one of the classes who cannot get the vitality perk itself. Regarding the weaponry, the biggest mistake, and this is something almost every player does, players think, oh, I'm a sniper, so I'm gonna get a sniper rifle, okay, and then I'm gonna get a grenade pouch, ammo pouch, so I have enough bullets, and now I can sit around for 30 minutes in the corner and snipe. First of all, this is how you lose games, and secondly, this is the easiest way to stay bad at the game. This is one of the fun ways if you want to have a meditating experience while playing, but you can do the same thing while also being better at the game. And this is how you do it. First of all, give the sniper 2 weapons. Reason for that is, it's like the biggest problem of a sniper rifle is the low magazine size. Having 2 weapons is literally like having twice the magazine size, since switching from one weapon to the other is extremely fast. It's basically instant speed, especially with the fast changing perks. Furthermore, we want to give them an X so they can get quickly to the point where they actually want to get to. And whenever you have an X on a soldier, always give him a flask too, so he can replenish stamina faster. And since it's also a soldier class that's gonna run around across the map, giving them an anti-tank mine is very useful. And since you already have something against tanks, a normal grenade, also Molotov could be quite fine, or even impact grenade, since if you find yourself in a position where enemies are approaching you quickly, impact grenades can actually save your butt. Though not all the nations have access to impact grenades, as the Soviets found out. Yeah. And of course a medkit and a pistol isn't too bad, because, well, guess what? You won't be too good on short range. It's really good if you snipe on short range too. It's great aim practice, but in many situations a pistol is literally going to save your life. Regarding the perks, it's not that hard. Since we can't get vitality, we can literally buy all the red perks we usually wouldn't. And since the additional stamina and additional aim stability isn't that useful, especially not on a sniper, we can invest in the additional medkit health restored and in the passive regeneration to the maximum. and then we got 1 left in stamina regeneration, meaning we already reached our threshold of 6 beginner perks. And now we can put the perks wherever we want to. Well, since we're level 1, since we're battle rating 1, we don't need recoil reduction, stuff like that, since we're bolting. So we want to maximize our bolting speed by increasing the bolt action rifle fire rate. And we want to make our soldiers a little bit more tanky. Preferably even more tanky, but we don't have enough points since we absolutely want the faster weapon change speed. And also the bot improvement perk. Because this sniper is also quite good as a bot. You don't even need to play this soldier yourself if you have this perk combination, because this perk distribution is gonna make your snipers literally very deadly bots. So this sniper I don't even play myself most of the time, since he's getting passive kills all of the time. Reason for that is he already has very high fire rate, additional precision as a bot, and also very fast weapon aim. So whenever there's an enemy, he's instantly looking at the enemy and instantly shooting at the enemy. Also make sure you set your bots to maximum aggressiveness and also mark all of the time, so your bots actually can react to the marks that you're setting. And then the remaining points you put into faster walking, which also makes our running a little bit faster, and then fast extinguishing and fast change of pose, since you're gonna want to crouch a couple of times with a sniper while hiding in the tall grass. Next we take a look at the Radioman. The Radioman 1 comes with a bonus of +5 mobility and a penalty of -2 weapon handling. This means you can make them very fast and also quite tanky, because the Radioman absolutely recommended to be the last soldier in every squad, since you do not want to fight with them on the front line. All the Radioman needs to do is to survive for as long as possible, so you can call your artillery strike when the timer runs out. So they need to absolutely survive, and they need to stay away from the action, meaning we want to give them some tanky perks and some fast range weapons. What you want to do is you can give them either 2 weapons, or if you have the choice between a weapon that's good on long range, one on short range, give them first the weapon that you want to use the most, and then a weapon that's, if the first weapon is good on short range, give him a long range weapon, and vice versa, obviously. Now, he also needs to be fast, so an X is quite good if you want to run away quickly, because this is the only soldier I ever actually run away from action, because they need to survive. And a flask, if you have a binocular you can put them on, though it's not important. You won't be running that far away that you need to look through binoculars. And you can give them pistol, also not that important, though, since you actually will be staying further away from the action when you are defending on defense games. Being in a position where you can drop mines on the road that the enemies are going to drive over in the next 5 minutes is also quite useful. And then a normal grenade and a med kit. Regarding perks, it's actually hard to fill up the first 6, because we want to have 16 for vitality, meaning we don't get anything here. And we also want to make them as tanky as possible, leaving us only 4 points for yellow. So we want to fill them up with faster weapon change, the better bot precision, and 1 random filler point. Also, we already have faster changing speed, meaning we get some ridiculously fast changing speed. And since you will be switching between your weapons constantly, also between your weapons and your radio to call the artillery strike, this is quite a welcome combination. And the remaining 2 beginner points that we fill into the first tier are faster changing pose and faster fire extinguishing, since once again, if he starts catching fire, we absolutely need him to survive. Also, Radioman usually want to cover when something's going to explode, so this is also very helpful. And fast running, because the fast running, once again, this is literally the class that needs to survive and run away from the action, so you literally want to run away from the action. And once you run out of stamina, you want to walk away faster. So this class is very straightforward. Be as defensive as possible, and you're gonna get more artillery strikes than you usually would. There's nothing worse than losing your Radioman 2 seconds before you would call artillery strike. So every single second he survives can mean you get 10 to 20 more kills due to a really good artillery strike. Machine gunners are very important, since on low battle ratings they are the class with the highest damage output. So How do you build them? It's very important to build them perfectly, because otherwise you're wasting lots of potential. They come with 3 additional weapon handling perks, and we absolutely need them because they are all about handling their weapons. The most important thing is always dual wield machine gunners, since there's nothing worse than reloading machine guns. Be it high level machine guns or low level machine guns, they all have quite long reload speeds. And on low battle rating you also have very few magazines, you have very few bullets in your magazine. So you absolutely want to be able to quickly switch from one weapon to the other, especially during fights, and mow down all your enemies. There's nothing worse than having to reload a machine gun during a fight. So make absolutely sure you're dual wielding, and once you do that, well, you can put a pistol on him, not that important. Binoculars also not important, but what's important is that give him an axe, since if you want to run around with your machine gunner across the field, since they have a ridiculous high weight on them, they will be slowed down. The weight doesn't slow down your soldier in a linear way, but still there's a concave effect, so the more weight you have, the slower you will be, but it's not extremely slower if you have all of the machine guns in the world on your soldier. So yeah, axe is quite useful, also flask quite useful. Quite good to have a mine on him, though not important, and something to blow up tanks and a medkit. And regarding the perks, this is very important, also quite hard to build, because we want to have basically all the recoil reduction in the world, but we only have 19 yellow since we are machine gunner 1. And of course you want vitality, so we can't put anything here in the first perk, so we have to invest the green perks to fill out the first 6 points. And here's how we do it. We put 3 yellow here, 3 green here, fast extinguishing, fast changing pose, which is very useful since half of the time you want to mount your machine gun on the ground and start spraying without recoil instead of holding it in your hand. And then a bit crouching, since there's nothing better. And with the remaining perks we can afford the faster aiming, which is very good for machine gunners, since you constantly are gonna be either when you're changing your pose, you have to re-aim, or when you switch with your weapon, you have to re-aim. So this is going to help you a lot. And you're going to feel the difference. Also, machine gunners are the best bot in the game, since they have the best weapon type for bots to be successfully killing enemies. So you really want to have the fast aiming speed, and you want to have the combination of better bot precision with the fast aiming speed, and the remaining points we can put into faster walking. Of course, you want to have the faster weapon changing speed, since we're dual wielding, and we absolutely need the recoil reduction. Most machine guns want vertical recoil reduction. There are some few exceptions which want horizontal recoil reduction, though keep in mind the vertical one is cheaper. So yeah, also I would buy this one only if I have machine gunner 2 or 3. For the beginner level, this is absolutely the best perk you can get. And the remaining points we can put in additional tankiness. Next we take a look at a medic, and of course we're gonna ask a Japanese soldier how to build a medic, since the Japanese were known for their medical interests during World War II. The medic class is very special and quite hard to build, because I notice most people don't know how to play this class to their fullest potential. This class is basically the best class to level up and to grind as many points as possible in a short amount of time, because this class gives you some insane tricks that you can do when it comes to getting experience. First of all, after the merge there are no assaulter 1s in the game anymore. Instead we have medics, so they are the substitute for them, giving them the ability to use SMGs and also assault rifles on higher battle rating, making them one of the classes who have a very good firepower in the early games. So give them the best SMG that you can get. Then they come with a medkit box, meaning you spawn the game, and especially as a defender, you can drop it on the objective, and all of your teammates are going to grab med kits from that box, and you're going to get experience every single time. Now this is already insane. You're gonna amass quite a good amount of experience passively from that. You don't even need to do anything. And since your squad is gonna have 5 medics overall, sadly you can only have medics in the squad, no other class, you can just cycle through all of your medics once you have the squad upgraded and just drop these boxes everywhere. preferably with vast distance, so your teammates can find them everywhere, and you're gonna get literally hundreds of experience more every single game alone from that. Then what you want to do is you have automatically this medical bag. Now this medical bag gives you a number of healings that you can use on your teammates, and whenever you heal a teammate you get 75 experience. Now this number changes over time, but the current number is 75, and 75 is literally 3 times as much as getting a normal kill. Yes, healing gives you insane amounts of experience. So what you want to do is you want to spawn with the soldier, quickly drop a box, then switch to all the other soldiers, drop all of their boxes, and then you run around, kill enemies, and after you killed every enemy and no enemies inside, you can start healing your wounded teammates, and you literally get easily, if you're not used to that, if you're not used to getting 2,000-3,000 experience, if you're a player who gets only, let's say, 2,000 experience per game, you're gonna get easily 3,000 to 4,000 experience simply by constantly playing medics. Yeah, they're really, really good if you want to grind the game. Extremely good. Also make sure you give them either X, or if they're Japanese, obviously a sword, with a flask, so you can actually run around quickly, because sometimes there's a distance between wounded teammates and you really want to make sure that you heal everyone that you can see. Also, since you're running around, give them a tank mine to get even more experience from killing enemy tanks, and a random grenade. And if you play Japanese, make sure you play white phosphor instead of a normal grenade for additional style points. And here comes a special sauce. Instead of a average medkit that every soldier uses, use tools. Here's the reason. Since you drop your medbox anyway, and you can grab your own almost infinite supply of medkits from that, you don't need your own medkit in the beginning. Instead, you can use tools, and tools give you the ability to repair a friendly tank 7 times. Now guess what? While you're running around searching for wounded soldiers, you can also repair your teammates' tanks. And this also gives you insane amount of experience. So you see, this class is the perfect class to just create infinite amounts of experience with everything you do. It's absolutely insane. So yeah, give them tools, don't give them medkits. When it comes to perks, they only have a little bonus of +2 red and +1 green. So what we want to do is we want to maximize their ability to heal teammates. We want to make it as fast and as reliable as possible. So for that purpose, we increase our healing speed of allies to the maximum by increasing it by 50%. And we also give ourselves additional uses of the med bag, because we don't want to run out of that. Absolutely not. Since every single soldier that you would be able to heal, but you can't since you ran out of the injections, yeah, that's 75 experience less. So yeah, these other perks aren't that useful. We absolutely want this. And only 2 times though, because we want 16 points for vitality, since we want to survive as long as possible. And after that, we need regarding green, we can't get fast running anymore, but we also don't need it that much, since we already have, fast walking, which is called fast running. And we maximize that by giving us more additional movement speed. And since we are using SMGs, we want to be a bit faster when it comes to aiming, since you're constantly switching between healing soldiers and running, and you rarely will sit on a position and aim in the one direction. You constantly are going to aim and unaim, so this is going to help you out. And we want some change of pulse speed, since you're literally going to do that constantly, and some faster fire extinguishing. Also faster weapon switching, since switching from the box and the injection to your primary weapon is the thing you're going to constantly do. And yeah, obviously, since you're going to have your 5 medics in the same squad, the one you're actively playing is going to be played by you, and the others are going to be bots, so you want to make them more precise with the bot perk. And after that, we want to make them as tanky as possible so they actually survive, because once again, as long as you even have 1 medic alive, you can gain huge amounts of experience, so this is absolutely worth it. And for the remaining points, we put in 3 yellow into vertical recoil reduction, since we're using a full auto weapon. Despite being an infantry game, Enlisted is also heavily dominated by tanks. And if your own tanks have a bad matchup against the enemy tanks, you're gonna be in big trouble unless you have anti-tank gunners. The whole build and all the perks are geared towards dealing with tanks as quickly and as reliably as possible. So for that purpose, we want the best anti-tank weapon that we can get. The Germans and low battle ratings have a bunch of anti-tank literal anti-tank rifles, though sadly these are very bad because they're either extremely problematic to aim and don't have too much penetration, even despite all the work, or they are extremely slow and despite all the disadvantages still have very low penetration. So the best way you can deal with enemy tanks as a German low battle rating is literally the Sturm pistol, which is, ironically enough, featuring some really good penetration, and since you're going to use it mostly on short range anyway, it's going to deal reliably even with the strongest tanks your enemies are going to bring. So you give them RBC dead, and then the best bolt action you can use. Best also means the one you can use with your eyes regarding the sights and so on. Since you're going to be chasing tanks very often, or you're going to have to flank tanks to get out of their line of sight or their fire area, their shooting area, you absolutely need an axe together with a flask. And since you're running around and literally chasing tanks, it's obvious that you want to drop some anti-tank mines. And you want grenade pouches to increase your firepower and have a bunch of grenades. Now, since you already have all of the anti-tank stuff, you don't need explosive packs, so you can afford having more grenades to deal with infantry and one random Molotov to release once you're downed as an additional punishment for enemies. Generally a really good combo. And also to have something to attack enemy tanks, because if you throw to the front part of the tank, the enemy tank is going to be blinded for a while. If you throw it on the back part of the tank, depending on the tank type, you can ignite its engine and basically blow up the tank after around 30 to 60 seconds. And if it's an open top tank, congratulations, you can easily destroy the whole tank and kill the crew with it. And of course a med kit. Regarding the perks, we're going to see something special we usually do not see. We want some climbing speed, because very often for your anti-tank weapon to be effective, you want to climb on something to get into higher elevation, to get a better angle. Because shooting on normal soldier heave is literally the worst thing you can do against most tanks, because this is where they have their best armament. So being able to shoot around 45 degrees from the top onto an enemy, preferably on the top part of the tank, is the best thing you can do. This literally is going to increase the penetration you have with your weapon and the damage. So yeah, this is very useful. Also, climbing on top of a tank, it doesn't even matter which anti-tank weapon you have. If you climb on top of a tank and shoot 90 degrees from the top downwards into the tank, you're gonna blow up even the strongest tanks in the whole game. So yeah, this perk is absolutely worth it. And since we don't have that many points and we want to have all the other perks, we absolutely have to get our first 6 points with the green. So we obviously want weapon change speed, since we're constantly changing our weapons. And then we have to put in 5 green, and this is going to be changing pose, fire extinguishing, and crouching. Since crouching can help you literally, well, it helps you stay alive. And it helps you to, well, since you're charging constantly and you're going to be out of stamina very often, getting on the ground and then crouching with higher speed than normal walking, thanks to this perk, is going to be really, really useful. And additionally, a bit faster walking. And for the red, we want vitality, obviously, and additional stamina. And for yellow, very important, the maximum amount of additional reload speed, since this also affects your anti-tank weapon. And then maximum survivability. Next we have the class that no one is using, the Mortar Man. And fun fact, his name literally means winner winner in Latin and German. So once I rolled him, I knew he absolutely has to be featured in this video. Since his weapon of choice is the mortar, he wants to stay as far away as possible from the action. So all of our perks do not have the focus of fighting itself, but to making him stay alive and keeping him mobile in order to be able to change position if the situation comes up. So regarding his weapon, first of all, give him a random weapon, obviously a good one that you like, and then the mortar, On low battle ratings you only have the weak mortar, and on high battle ratings you also get the enormous gigantic mortar that can even kill most tanks in the game. Regarding playstyle, you want to spawn either on a position where you're already well hidden, or run towards a position where you can hide your squad and spend the next minutes shooting all of your mortars into the enemy position. So you want to be mobile, but you also want to profit from your mobility. So therefore we have anti-tank mines. This is one of the few soldiers where having smoke grenades is actually beneficial, because if you expect enemies to come to a position, just throw a bunch of smoke grenades around yourself, literally on yourself, and then you can be hidden in the smoke. Very few people actually expect enemies hiding in smoke and using this as a defensive measure. Also, binoculars can be useful depending on your position. If you got yourself in a well hidden position that's elevated, you can actually nicely spot enemies, mark them, and then you have markers for your mortar to shoot, and an X plus flask to quickly run towards good positions, and a random medkit. Regarding perks, it's quite hard to fill up the first 6 slots, so my recommendation is 1 fast weapon change, then a filler here, then 2 filler points here. Also, well, one of the few ways you can actually be damaged while you're hiding in your backline position is by artillery strikes or bombs and similar stuff. So having less head shaking can actually be beneficial, definitely more beneficial than all the other beginner perks. And then some filler perks in the green, so you reach your 6. With that in mind, you can get yourself vitality finally, and you can get the useful plus 20% mortar ammunition, since you literally want as much mortar ammunition as possible. This is the most important thing for you, and 20%, 10% more for 4 yellow is really worth it, and then additional tankiness, so you actually stay alive while you get bombed by enemy planes and similar stuff. And for the remaining green, more running or walking speed is useful, and climbing speed is actually useful, because there's nothing better than climbing on top of a house or something similar, especially rubble houses in Stalingrad and Berlin, which also give you protection. And then you just set up your mortar there, and then you mark some good targets with your binoculars, since your teammates usually won't be cooperative, and then you can just shell the enemy position non-stop and get lots of kills. Since most of you will also want to have access to the normal assaulters, not only the medics, let's take a look at the first assaulter class in the game, the ironically named Assaulter 2. Now they have the advantage of, since they are tier 2 soldiers, having 6 additional perk points, not only 3, which leads us to the position that we can actually give them all the perks you want to make them deadly when it comes to handle their weapons. Unlike medics, which heal first and kill second, assaulters only kill, and that's all they do because they are very good at it. They don't need to do anything else. So we want to maximize their fire output. We do this by letting them dual wield as many other classes, and since assaulters are usually the first one to attack an area, they need to be the first one to actually arrive. So we give them an X plus flask combo, and since they usually deal only with infantry, not with tanks, giving them anti-personnel mines is good. In general, you want to have a bunch of soldiers with anti-personnel mines to especially mine enemy ready points, or to mine your own ready point, which is a great defense against enemy mines on your ready points, because when they try to mine your rally point, they're gonna blow up from your rally point. And it doesn't matter that you blow up your own rally, because it would be destroyed anyway. So this is a good tactic. Also give them explosive packs, so they have something against enemy tanks in case they encounter one. And of course a medkit. Binoculars and pistols aren't really important, because you already have more than enough weapons and you're a short-range fighter anyway. And binoculars are in general not really useful, so I only put them on tankers, and that's basically it. Other classes don't really need them, especially since it was nerfed that you can't use binoculars anymore while you're mounting machine gun nests. When it comes to perks, we may have the numerical abundance, but since we want to have all the expensive perks, we are still in a tight place when it comes to the early perks, so we have to somehow fill them up. And here's the deal. You want to get the fast weapon change and the filler bot accuracy, which is also good, by the way, because as long as you're not playing an assaulter and he's a bot, he's going to profit immensely with his full auto weapon from this perk. and then additional stamina regeneration since you're going to be running and charging constantly. And then to fill up the first 6 we get fast extinguishing, pose changing, quite useful with mounting your SMG on the ground, and a little bit faster crouch, faster crawling. This one isn't that useful, but it's usually, whenever I put in 1 point here, it's basically always a filler. Also here, putting in 1 point here usually is also a filler. And now we come to the perks that we actually want. Well, on my max tier Assaulter Force, I recommended giving them fast running, because this is gonna give you extremely fast, extremely mobile soldiers. And players who reached max tier or very high tier usually don't have many problems with fast aiming and stuff like that. But if you're new to the game, all the speed advantage during fights, during gunfights that you can get is very much welcome, and therefore you rather have the faster weapon aim speed than the faster running speed. So yeah, this is really useful. And since you still want to be mobile enough, additional walking speed. Now, since you're using a full auto weapon, you absolutely want the recoil reduction. And here, depending on the SMG, you could get theoretically the horizontal one, but there's basically no good SMG in the game where you want this. So yeah, vertical recoil reduction it is, and we are very happy to get this one since it's also cheaper. So yeah, we get all the recoil reduction we can get, and then we get the remaining points into being more tanky. Keep in mind, even though SMGs don't have the worst recoil in the game, and also you can mount it quite often. So some people might assume, well, theoretically I don't need recoil reduction. Well, here's the deal. Since you're an assaulter, you're the first soldier who rushes into a position, and you're going to be very mobile, and you rarely will actually mount your weapon. Most of the time you will just shoot on the run. So having the recoil reduction is absolutely important. And if you already have a weapon with a low recoil, getting an additional -40, which means you're reducing basically almost 9 points away from that, you're gonna stay with 11, you're gonna stay with around 12 vertical recoil points. This means you basically you don't have any recoil left. So yeah, even if you have already low recoil, shaving off some of that recoil can make your weapon absolutely accurate. Building your tankers in the strongest possible way is very complicated because it depends on where your tanker is sitting within the tank. So relative to the tanker role, you want different perks. And I already explained it in detail in the previous video, so watch that one. It doesn't matter much if you have tanker 3s or tanker 1s. The difference is you're going to have less perk points to distribute, but the main perk points, meaning the ones for loading or for aiming, are going to be the same, so that doesn't matter much. And for the end, the pilots. They're very easily and quickly covered, since it doesn't matter whether it's an attacker or fighter pilot, or a pilot of tier 1 or tier whatever. The perks are almost, you want the same perks basically. You always want the additional detection range, and anything you have left you want to put into additional peripheral view. And the rest, well, if you have it, just give yourself vitality and fill out the rest with whatever you have. This one's good to have, but not really important. Instead, you can put your green points into a more comfy landing and faster walking after you ejected. So yeah, pilots are quite straightforward. Regarding their weapons, well, you want to dual wield as usual, since you automatically get an additional weapon slot, since you cannot get a backpack slot due to their parachute. And if you actually eject from your plane and get successfully down to the ground, pilots can become very good assaulters, and if you are low level, this can easily double and triple the experience you get, making your grind much faster and easier, since giving them 2 random SMGs makes them very dangerous. Also, don't forget to give them an X, they absolutely need it, because they usually get teleported 150 meters away from the action. And the flask, of course, if you want to, you can give them binoculars for historical reasons, and also to, yeah, sometimes they can be really good spotters if you're playing in a team in Discord and talk with other people. And then, well, optimally you want to give them tank mines, not charges, because since they're running around the map, Placing mines on places you usually wouldn't be running around can be really good, and a random grenade, and of course a medkit. That's it. Now you know everything you need to know about all the classes in the game regarding how to equip them, how to play them, and how to perk them up. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have something to add, also let me know. And if you're new, of course, subscribe to the channel and share it with your nerd friends so that our nerd army here grows. Until next time, goodbye.